much for joining me for tea at one of my favorite Arlington establishments, the House of Steep.
Well, thank you for having me. This is a lovely place and very calming.
It's very difficult to get, we're a world traveler between the Arlington office of the BBB and then the New York office of NAD. You're a man who's often on the move.
I spend about a third of my life on Amtrak.
I hope they have a good rewards program.
They have a wonderful rewards
really
program.
Free hot dogs? Free hot dogs? I think I'd sign up for that. Hot dogs and beer on the way back. I always have those after an Andrea meeting. It's calming. So I'm so excited to have a chance to catch up with you. You have been with the ASRC for 10 years. I really can't believe it's been that long. After 30 years at the FTC, now it's been a full decade at ASRC. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been a time that goes by very quickly.
Because you're on Amtrak, probably.
I'm on Amtrak.
But I was really interested in kind of getting some of your perspectives about how things are going. So you've been here for 10 years. What looks different today than after 30 years at the FTC and when you started?
Well, so when I was at the FTC, you always looked at industry self-regulation and you thought, that's a process that works pretty well. And I think the real, revelation to me is being out and having watched it for a long period of time now, how well it does work and how much better it works than you can see from the outside. And it's really, a tribute to the industry members who have created these programs and supported these programs, that they continue to be such vital, sort of living programs that can, evolve and address new issues, but at the same time keep a focus on the basics, on the truthfulness and the substantiation of advertising claims. So it's really been a very rewarding move for me.
Well, talking about evolution, one of the things that I'm still surprised by, pleasantly surprised, is the rule changes, the very thoughtful rule changes that NAD just put into place. It was maybe 2 years ago that some in the industry started talking about, whether the NAD procedures needed a kick the tires. There was some concern, I think, born out of that the cases were moving more slowly. I think that because there was at least a perception that NAD wasn't adequately funded, that it didn't have a full staff of attorneys. And so through the ABA, many in the industry, both outside counsel and inside counsel, got together to really talk about the NAD process soup to nuts, and it culminated in the report, of course, that we sent to you. And people write reports all the time and send them in, and we felt good about what we'd done. But I think everybody who participated in that process was incredibly surprised that you took that report and you acted on that report incredibly quickly, sitting down with the NAD staff, sitting down with the board, and you adopted changes to the procedures. It took you less time to change the procedures than it did for us to do our retrospective. What, in your opinion, are the key changes that were made to the NAD rules arising out of that report?
So the report process, I think, was really an excellent process, and thanks to the ABA and leadership, including you, Amy, for all the work that went into it, because my understanding is, as people got into it, people figured out, hey, this is a lot more work than we thought it was going to be.
Herding cats was an understatement.
Herding cats was a term I'd heard. The other thing that was really valuable about the process is, in the NAD process, half of the participants lose. And so you hear lots of suggestions for improvements, but they often reflect sort of the particular interest of a client. And so what was really great about this ABA process is people, moved back from their roles as advocates and looked at the process as a whole. And the other thing that was just so valuable about the process and actually startling to me is, while this process has been around for 45 years now, we're doing our 45th anniversary, and lots of people use it and lots of companies support it, that the understanding of the basic institution wasn't as well developed as I thought it was. And so I think the learning process of just, how NAD is supported and how it's operated and where it fits into the Better Business Bureau system was, again, a really important process. So, and in terms of recommendations, the two recommendations that I was most excited about were that, the process is really valuable and that it needs the support of the industry. So, those were the two that I was really excited about. That was supplemented by about 34 additional recommendations for changes, and they were really very carefully thought out and measured. And when we got the report, people looked at it and said, now we have sort of a blueprint, sort of a consensus document about things we can change, things that we can try and see if they help, and let's do them. My board was very excited about it, and the staff was very engaged in it. So great recommendations. The three that I think were the most important was, first off, the idea of a scheduling conference at the outset of a filing. We have implemented that as of November 1st, and we are seeing good results from that in cases. So, interested to hear how that looks from the attorney's end, but having a plan turns out to be a good thing. The second one is the recommendation for private settlements before a case is issued. I think that is working well, and it's a resource conservation method for us, just as the ABA group predicted it would be. And so that's a process where before the NAD issues a decision, the parties can agree to settle the case, and the NAD won't issue a decision, but the case will be resolved. So I think that was a really important one. And then the third one that we are still in the process of implementing is the recommendation on the NAD's participation at the NARB. That's one that we're going to be watching and measuring to make sure that our NARB panels feel like they're getting the level of information and support that they need. But it certainly will conserve resources for us. So the sort of cumulative impact of these recommendations and the recent commitment of the Council of Better Business Bureaus to full staffing has really created a situation where we can move cases more quickly, and we can also fulfill our obligations to be out speaking so that more people know about the conference. So very long-winded answer, but again, it was a very useful process, useful, we hope, for the community that uses us, very useful for us, useful for my board, and useful for the staff.